Welcome to I Had to Say It, the podcast where I talk about things that I feel need talking about, and sometimes they're not getting the attention they deserve. And your feelings, they're not under consideration.
What's up, Hushlings? I'm Declassified Dave.
And I'm Mystery Mike.
We're joined by our protege, Slick Frank Sanders.
Frank Sanders here. How's it going, Hushlings?
Join us Mondays for the Hush Hush Society Conspiracy Hour as we take new initiates through the dark secrets, hidden truths of the underbelly of the conspiratorial world. Each season finale ending with a live show. Follow along on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and listen on all streaming platforms at our linktree, linktr.ee/Hush Hush Society.
Remember, the best kept secrets are hidden in plain sight.
The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off. Alright, everybody, so it's time for another episode of I Had to Say It, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you feel about these things and what you're bent towards listening to me rant and rave about things is, this could be a good thing, I guess. But from my personal standpoint, this is something I wanted to get away from. I'm so sick of talking about politics right now. I am so tired of all this horse shit. And unfortunately, life is still nowhere near back to normal, and it doesn't look like it's going to get there anytime soon. And so a lot of interaction with people is through social media and not actual face-to-face interaction and not actual human interaction. And it involves everything that goes along with those circumstances. There's the whole, people get really bold when they know they're behind a keyboard and not talking to your face. There's ridiculous amounts of rhetoric and just ignorance and hatred being spewed from both sides. I'm so nonpartisan in a lot of these issues because I think both sides are a bunch of assholes. There's really not a whole lot of mainstream thoughts out there right now that I find any friggin' merit in them. Everybody is being vocal about these things. I mean, I find that there's a lot of people out there a lot like me. They're sick of this shit. They're sick of the stupidity and the ignorance and all the name-calling and the backbiting and all the other horse shit that's going on because of the clusterfuck that the United States of America has been led into by these so-called leaders. They're not leaders. They are con men, they are hustlers, and they are scam artists. They don't do any actual friggin' leading. And I'm so tired of people, they're here to lead us. They're there to help us. No, they're not. They only help themselves. They are nothing but self-interested, just opportunistic sacks of shit. The last year has shown that beyond anybody's being able to question it. If you have any kind of rationality or any realism in your head, you know that the people that are supposed to be public servants, that's the name of the job. That is what they are called when we're trying to delude ourselves that they still work for us. They don't think they do. Why should they? They don't have to do anything. They're not subject to the same shit they put the rest of us through. We don't hold them accountable. Somehow a lot of these assholes keep getting reelected when they have a track record of screwing over everybody. But people are just so apathetic and so convinced that they have to vote along party lines and they have to vote for these people because they have to. And we don't. And people are just taking all this shit so to heart and getting so wound up about it. And things are just getting continually worse. In a prime example of showing that they really don't give a shit about the common people and the people that they're supposed to be serving, the state of Illinois, where I am spending most of my days these days, released a statement saying that the federal tax breaks that are being issued to small businesses will not be honored in this state because they can't afford to give up the revenue. They've looked at their budgets. They haven't found anywhere else where it could be better served to cut some fat like, say, their salaries, their pensions, their benefits. No, they still get paid. They got raises this year. They're getting extra money, and they're watching the state's economy go down the crapper. There are so many small businesses that are dead and gone, will never come back, will not recover. And they've just driven another nail in the coffin of the state's economy by saying, you know what? If you have a small business, you still have to pay your taxes because we can't balance our books. They're incompetent, and they're making the little guy pay for it to the point of killing businesses and killing off industry. People are leaving the state in record numbers, in waves. The state has had a net population loss. It's ridiculous. And somehow these assholes keep getting elected. There are people that will still defend these schmucks. Or people that try and, anyone uses that cop-out of it's the best we can do, or you have to go along with it. I'm sick of all of you. I really am. Because that's the attitude that got it to this point in the first place. And I really don't want to carry on a rant about this, but this is what I'm surrounded by, and this is what is on the media, and it's in the news, and it's on all the social media things. And the amount of ignorance that everyone is so willing to spout off with their opinions and whatever they consider a fact because it fits the narrative they're trying to describe, regardless of the actual practical application and the legal ramifications or anything beyond that. I'm sick to death of all these just armchair lawyers that are... I know for a lot of us, the dynamics of our lives have changed a lot, and we've got a lot more downtime, and I've been there myself for the last 7 months. A lot of spare time on my hands. And instead of getting bent out of shape about things and just going and spouting off about it, I decided to better myself and educate myself and learn things. And I started this podcast. I learned how to do things that would facilitate doing this show because I wanted a hobby and I thought this sounded interesting. I listened to some other programs and I said, hey, that sounds fun. Maybe I could do that. And this gives me a chance to vent my ire and carry on about, so I'm not bottling all this shit up. But at the same time, I don't go out there making pronouncements and statements and judging every person on social media that doesn't agree with me. I don't go out there looking to pick fights. Do I react when people make comments on things I've stated or posted or comments I've made? Yeah, I do, most of the time. Kind of depends on the circumstances. Sometimes you can just get someone and you can tell they're too stupid to try and talk to. And there are people that are just, they automatically go to their bag of you're ignorant, you're racist, you're whateverist, because you don't co-sign whatever it is they sign. You're stupid because you don't believe the same shit they believe. And as soon as they decide to make it personal, they're frickin' worthless. I already talked about this in the whole episode about arguing on the internet, and my feelings on it really haven't changed, and my policies and approaches in regards to it really haven't either. But ultimately, and it's what I've been having to deal with in the last couple of weeks, some really just dumb shit has gone on. Triggered everybody. And I already talked a little bit about the riots in D.C. when the election tallies came in from Georgia. And they said, yeah, well, guess what? We're verifying this election and we're given the title to the other guy, and all of a sudden we're going to swarm the Capitol and blah, blah, blah. And I start seeing all these posts about attempted coups and all this other shit. Nothing that happened was remotely coordinated enough to be considered a coup or any sort of insurrection or uprising other than a bunch of assholes doing something dumb. There was no coordination. There was no planning. There were no goals in place. There was no end game. It was a bunch of morons showed up and decided they were going to tear some shit up. And it happened. And the aftermath and the blowback from it has just been ridiculous out of both camps. You've got those weren't my people camp, even though I agree with a lot of what they're saying. A lot of the people that were actually doing the bad shit were instigators and agitators put into place. You know what? There have been agitators and instigators being put into place for generations. It's not a new thing. It happens. So is it beyond the realm of possibility? No, it's entirely possible. Do I think it's real likely? But beyond that, you've got the other side pushing back. Well, look at what a bunch of assholes you are. These are your people, and now as soon as you don't get your way, you start tearing up the Capitol. These are the same people that were apologizing when entire cities were on fire. Not apologizing that they were on fire, but justifying and excusing the behavior of the people that were rioting and burning and destroying shit, because they were doing it supposedly in the name of a cause that was actually a decent concept. But the problem is, as soon as you start burning shit down and you stop being a peaceful protest, and as soon as you pick up, if you stole a single thing during any of those civil unrest moments, you are not a protester. You are an opportunist. You are a parasite. You are a piece of garbage. I've said that more times than I can count. The fact that I'm still having to say it because it's still an issue that people are dragging through the mud and just beating that horse. You can't even tell it used to be a horse. This is not beating a dead horse. This is beating a pile of hair and mush that might have once been an animal. And everybody needs to just fucking get over it. It's not going to change no matter how many times you say it. It doesn't all of a sudden become something virtuous or something meritorious because you choose to ignore the fact that now the other side's doing it. So somehow that makes the original bullshit okay. That makes everything right. And we get these self-righteous, ignorant twats, and it's amazing. You got people that barely graduated from high school that somehow feel like they are now Rhodes Scholars, and they need to dispense their particular version of whatever they think is right. And as soon as somebody that is either more qualified, better informed, or any way, shape, or form in a position to speak on the issue, and I'm a firm believer, if you put your opinion out there, you're opening yourself up to feedback, to other people's opinions. If you don't want to have people saying something, keep your mouth shut. That's just how it works. So we get these assholes that are all of a sudden legal experts and First Amendment lawyers because social media accounts for the current commander-in-chief were suspended and different operating system platforms decided to pull apps for a competitor to one of the current social media apps. My policy of not naming names, everybody knows who I'm talking about. I really don't need to open myself up to potential litigation. So let's be honest here, guys. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Unless you're living under a rock or you're not in America and you're just tired of our shit. Which, if that's the case, I apologize for my people. They are morons. Hopefully we'll get better. I'm not holding my breath. And any Canadians want to adopt a nice Midwestern family with good values and a hell of a cook, let me know. But beyond that, it's really just ridiculous. We got all these people screaming that, oh, you're violating our First Amendment rights. The First Amendment protects you from being censored or fined for having your speech. It protects you from the government doing these things. Private platforms in any form are allowed to moderate their services as they see fit. And I know none of us read EULAs. It's something you always have to click that you read it and accept the terms and conditions of it. And these things are clearly laid out in every one of those things. They're like boilerplate at this point. They all say the same thing. They reserve the right to say what can and can't go on their platforms. We all agreed to it when we signed up for the things. Nobody read it, but everybody agreed to it because they had to get on the hot platform to do whatever. And it started out with the kids, and all the old farts got in on it too. And now we're all using these media accounts. And all of a sudden, everybody's treating it like it's a public utility, like it's a service that they are owed. It's a right. And speaking of things that are owed and rights, we're going to take a real break right quick. And I'm going to stick the usual ad in here. And we will be back in about a minute and a half. And you can listen to the rest of this rant. Never mind that they literally contribute nothing to the process, and like everything else in a capitalist society, these people that run these things are entitled to run it as they see fit because they're beholden to their stockholders. That's who they answer to. They don't give a damn if the person who logs in for free and is a product at this point. Let's call it how it is. If you use social media, and we all do, you're the product. They are selling metrics about what your habits, who you interact with, how you interact, how many times You click on different kinds of ads, how much screen time you're investing. All of those metrics are tracked and sold. You are the product. You are not entitled to anything. You are what is being handled. You are what is being distributed. They put the ads in front of your face. They track what you react to, what you click on, what you follow, what you like, what you share, and they use all of that to go to these companies and say, this is why you need to pay us to put your ads in front of these people. They will see it if we tell them to. And anyone who's getting indignant about, oh, well, now they're censoring what I want to hear and they're violating my rights. No, they're not. The simple fact of the matter is you don't have these rights. As soon as you created that account and agreed to their terms and conditions of service, you forfeited all of that. You don't have a say in it. That's what you agreed to. You may not have read it, but you don't get to plead ignorance as a defense. You agreed to it whether you read the paperwork or not. I actually had a similar conversation to this the other day with someone, and the whole sticking point was, since certain social media platforms are leaning left, and in the eyes of this individual, they were colluding with the left against the right, and that makes them a political thing, and that's a free speech violation. And my entire point, and the only comment I really made was, they are a private entity. It is a optional service. You have no obligation to use this form of media if you don't want to. They are not obligated to provide a platform to anyone they don't feel like. And it's in the agreement you clicked when you started your account. If you're dissatisfied with the service, cancel your account, don't use it anymore, contact customer service and see if you can get your money back. The only problem is you never gave them any money, so they don't owe you shit. It's a platform you use without any out-of-pocket expense. I would say it's a free platform, but you're paying for it in your time and your attention. So it's really not free, but it's free-ish. But yes, they have every legal right to decide what can and cannot be provided on their platform. That's just the way it works. You can't say you're a fan of capitalism or of free trade or anything else and then say these people have to be denied the right to run their company as they see fit. You, the user, they're not beholden to you. They don't owe you a damn thing. They owe their stockholders and their investors. That's really the bottom line. If they're doing something and it's really that terrible and it's really not in the best interests of their business, and it's really such a horrible, wrong thing, it should drive enough people away to make them change their behavior. They are, bottom line, it's a capitalist venture, and they are there to make money. They're not providing a public service. They're not doing this to make your life better in any way, shape, or form. They're doing it so they can market your ass. The end. You don't get to squawk about your rights. You're using something that is being provided for you at no cost to yourself. And contrary to what you might believe, they're not doing this for any altruistic reasons. It's the same reason why you used to be able to turn on the TV and watch stuff for free. It's not that it was actually free. They were paying for it with advertising. They were companies in the business of providing entertainment for you in order to provide income for themselves. This is exactly the same scenario. Now, if they literally had to block these services due to a government mandate, then you're looking at an actual case of censorship. And that's a whole different ball of wax entirely. And that's not what's going on. As much as people want to call it collusion and all this other shit, it's a choice being made by a business as to how they want to run their business. And as somebody who believes in the right of capitalism and success or failure based on how effectively you manage your business, I say they have that right. Am I particularly thrilled about it? I really don't care, to be honest. As long as I'm allowed to do what I want to do. I get bent out of shape that every super ultra right person is pissed off right now? No, I don't. Because I knew what I was getting into when I agreed to it. And I understand how these things work. If you want to use something, particularly if you're not paying for it, you have to work within the confines that are established by the people who are actually expending something to create what you are using. It's that, to put it simply, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Now, I wish people would be a little more cognizant of the fact that they are the product. That's really the hang-up I have when it comes to dealing with these people is, you need to pull your head out of your ass and realize you are being sold. They are selling advertising to companies that show products in your different media feeds. You are having the information about your habits marketed to all these companies so they can more effectively target you, so they can sell you shit. It is about developing understanding of the consumers. It's not, regardless of what they say, it is not necessarily about establishing a place for free speech and free ideas and free exchange of thought. That's what the internet was originally created for, was to share data and facts and information and knowledge. It was originally a real noble idea. And then once it got in the hands of the general public, it turned into a massive shit show. But when you take out the interests of the people who should be controlling something and all of a sudden just say it's a free-for-all, that's what you get. And that's what a lot of people want. And that's not what's going to happen. That's bad business. It's like the saying goes, if it don't make dollars, then it don't make sense. There's no sense in saying, well, we're just going to give you whatever the hell you want, and it doesn't line up with the people that are paying our bills, so, but we don't need to make money. And if you realistically expect that stuff, you're kind of deluding yourself. And the thing that really just burns my ass is pretty much without fail, everyone I've seen who has a real strong opinion on this matter, and I'm talking about strong opinion on both sides of the fence. The ones that are out there ranting and raving about how wrong this is, and the ones that are sitting there saying, well, you need to just get over it, they are such utter hypocrites, because if the shoe was on the other foot, they would be saying the exact same things as the people that they're fighting with, just out of the other mouths. It's ridiculous to me, because ultimately that's what it boils down to. Everyone out there these days is perfectly fine with terrible shit happening as long as it happens to people that they don't agree with. As long as it happens to not them. If it happens to them, it's a tragedy, it's offensive, it's wrong. And don't get me wrong, there are good people out there. There are people with actual morals. There are people that were out there, trying to march and make changes because shitty things keep happening. And they actually want to see the world get better. But for every person with the good intentions, there's 5 people out there that are opportunistic shitheads that are trying to co-opt all the good things that could be going on. And there are so many people that are just looking for something to be mad about, something to be pissed off about, something that they can point at and say, this is the hill we're going to die on. And it's fucking pathetic. Because ultimately, these people are all choosing battles that don't benefit them or anyone else in the long run, because they're getting bent out of shape and defending masters who don't care about them. They're standing up for people that stand on top of them. And they do it with this, oh, well, my guy's for the common man. No, none of them are for the common man. It doesn't matter if you're leaning left or leaning right. You're still getting leaned on. And it's not going to change as long as people stay focused on this petty, ignorant shit and the just hypocritical horse shit that is being spewed out of both sides. Whether it's the get over it crowd or it's the, he's not my president. Yeah, well, you spent 4 years saying the same shit to the other side. Now it's time to eat your crow. Here's some salt. The simple fact of the matter is, as long as you're okay with terrible shit happening to people you don't agree with, terrible shit is going to keep happening. We need to get back to being indignant and upset and incised and self-righteous about shitty things happening to people we don't like. Because it's still a shitty thing. We need to get over this whole they deserve it because they don't drink from the same cup I drink from mentality and just grow the fuck up. But the real problem is all this dissension and these arguments and these little dust-ups and the looming things where I'm sure there's going to be bigger conflicts and there's going to be fights and there's probably going to be some violence. And the quote-unquote leadership that we are supposed to be looking to for guidance and that is supposed to be helming this country are the assholes that are encouraging this shit. They are stirring it up. They are cultivating an us against them mentality. Instead of trying to bring the country together and unify it and tell everybody to quit the shit, they're sitting there going, no, stand up for yourself. You're right and you stand by it. They're just egging this shit on. It's like two kids that are kind of don't like each other in a playground, and you got that ring of kids around them trying to convince them to beat the shit out of each other. What we need to realize is we're the kids in the ring, and all those assholes that are in control are the ones trying to get us to kick the shit out of each other because they realize if we pay attention, we're going to kick the shit out of them instead. The thing is, I don't care how big tech you are, you can't actually censor a sitting president. He has an entire division of his staff that is dedicated to being able to put him out in the public eye. There's a room in the White House dedicated to it. So don't go trying to cry the victim because they took the guy's phone away. For shit's sakes. And to the people who are bemoaning the supposed loss of the new, far-right, uncensored, supposedly free-thinking, no fact-checking involved new social media platform that they've launched. Here's the thing. The two major carriers of cell phone providing services for smartphones both chose to yank their app for not meeting their standards because of the things they allow to be promoted on their service. A private company deciding not to use something is the pretty much textbook definition of free trade and capitalism. That's not censorship. That's saying we don't agree with your product and we will not carry it. If any of you are bent out of shape about not being able to get that app downloaded onto your smartphone, open your web browser and type in their URL. The web page of the service is still there. It may take an extra 3 seconds for you to get to it, and if it's really too complicated for you to figure out how to do that, go get one of your kids and have them explain it to you. It's really not that hard. Don't go onto the platforms that are still functional and operational and scream about how wrong you're getting treated because of the thing you want is not being provided how you think it should be delivered. I've said this many times to many people. If you really think you have a better answer and you know better and you know what people really deserve and what people really want, get off your ass, get it developed, get it marketed, and if it's such a great frickin' idea, you will be rich, you will be happy, you will be content, because everybody will beat the door down to get it from you. But if you're just going to bitch about something somebody else is doing, you're not accomplishing anything. Shut the hell up. It's just ridiculous. And I don't even want to delve into the just cockamamie, ridiculous shit that I have had to see people spewing back and forth at each other beyond what I've already covered. Because it gets so much worse. There are things. I had somebody arguing with me that literally agreed with me, but didn't like how I phrased it. They said when I said that was too open to interpretation. And at the end of the day, they proceeded to try and throw all these statements back in my face about, well, if you believe that, you should believe this. If you believe this, you should believe that. Like it's somehow going to change my mind. And a prime example, I had somebody I had to deal with somebody who seemed to think that because I believe these platforms are operating within their legal rights and the terms and conditions of the service they have opted to provide. And somebody said, well, if you think they should be able to do whatever they want and how they should be able to run that how they want, you think all these businesses should be open and not shut down for COVID. And I said, that's exactly what I fucking think. I don't think the government should be mandating these shutdowns, and I've said it more than once. I think from a common sense standpoint, having safety precautions in place makes sense. I think if you believe that you need to have your mask on and be kept 6 feet away from people at all times, and you don't want to go to a place that doesn't necessarily enforce all those things, that's your right. You have the right to believe whatever the hell you want. So here's how that works. These businesses get it to stay open and have a chance of finding like-minded individuals coming into their business and allowing them to survive. Maybe not thrive, maybe not get ahead, but not get so far into debt that the bank takes everything they own. Not getting so far behind that they can't afford to turn the lights on anymore. Not watching something that in some cases for generations has been a family staple just crumbling away because of government interference. There's enough people out there that are really sick of the way things are going that if small businesses were allowed to function and operate normally, or even on a modified basis, but allowed to function, they would probably get through this. But these small businesses functioning, getting through with it, they're not in a position to offer the kickbacks and all the other shit that the politicians count on, so they're not a concern. They're not a factor. Nobody's out there giving a shit about the little guy because the little guy can't afford the kickbacks to the people that are making these policies. They can't. They've had everything legislated and taken away from them. So yes, I'm a firm believer that if these platforms are allowed to take who they want and tell people they can and can't stay there, yes, all these stores should be open. Because if you can go to the local big box superstore that has 700 or 800 people in the friggin' building at any given time, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to go to a small place and get your hair cut or have a nice dinner or just enjoy yourself. It's absolutely disgusting that we've gotten to this point, and there are people that will stand up and say, no, it's right that we're killing the small businesses in this country because it's for the greater good. I mean, I believe in the greater good. Don't get me wrong. I believe that we need to look out for each other. We need to take care of each other. But there is literally very little science that is in any kind of way supporting what's been going on because the virus is still spreading. The pandemic has not been stopped by any of these measures. And the people that support them say it's because of the people that don't support them not following the rules. But some of the highest infection rates and some of the most severe illness numbers are coming in the places that supposedly have the highest compliance with all these regulations and shutdowns and mask orders and all this other shit. And like I said, I'm not trying to fault people. I do believe we should be a little more careful. I do believe things need to be modified. It's just a fact of life. We're going to have to adapt our behavior until the situation remedies itself somehow, whether we get some sort of natural immunity or they develop an effective vaccine or whatever the case may be. Until we can come back to getting things normal, yeah, it's going to suck. People are going to get sick. People are going to die. I know a lot of people personally that have gotten sick with the Rona over the last, 8 months or whatever. I know people that have gotten hit really hard. I know people that have had it and not shown so much as a sniffle. And I'm not one of those people that's going, oh, well, we need this because it's a virus so terrible. I'm not trying to mock things. What I'm saying is, at some point, we lost sight of the bigger picture. We were never trying to stop the spread of the virus because that is literally impossible. Nature doesn't work that way. No matter how much of there's no such thing as a 100% effective vaccine. People get vaccinated against the flu every year, and it never stops the flu. The flu has existed for as long as medicine has existed, and we could call something besides just being sick. So we need to deal with this. We need to adapt our mindset. And for God's sakes, everyone needs to stop this little petty just going at each other. Stop focusing on the other broke people. Stop looking at the common guy. We are all so focused on trying to be right that nobody's worried about everything that's being done in the meantime. We are never going to get better by trying to tear each other down. You don't accomplish anything. And I'm saying this as somebody who's literally calling everyone else an asshole. And you know what? There's a lot of people out there that are going to call me an asshole. And you know what? You're right. I am an asshole. I'm a prick. I don't really care about your feelings or what you think about these things. I mean, hopefully we could sit down and have some adult discourse. I'm more than willing to discuss my thoughts. And if somebody presents something that is legitimately and logically valid, I'm willing to entertain the concept of changing my mind, which is something everyone appears to have forgotten how to do. It's ridiculous. We are running down, it's the road to nowhere. This is a terminal trip. And ultimately, we all need to remember the survival rate for all of us is going to be 0. Nobody gets out of this alive. There is no magic cure that's going to keep us around forever. So you can't go on living your life like you're going to live forever. That's fucking stupid, and you shouldn't be trying. Try and get the most you can out of your life. Try and leave a legacy that's going to be awesome. Stop being so fucking petty and constantly trying to tear each other down. You keep tearing everything down, we're all going to stay at the bottom. You got to start building each other up. We have to support each other. We have to actually get back to caring about people. It's just ridiculous. It's sickening, and I'm tired of having to think about this shit. But unfortunately, I am a critically minded individual. I think about things. I can't sit around and just turn my brain off. I try. I can't do anything else. I have to think about these things, and that's the whole point of this podcast. I have to say it. This is not things I can just think about and push to the side. These things have to be said. People need to get their heads out of their collective asses. People need to grow up. People need to wake up. And I'm not talking about the stupid, socially conscious woke. I'm not talking about the conspiracy theory woke where it's like, yeah, they're hiding all the truth from us. Honestly, if you look around at the average person you see on the street, there's no way you would want them knowing any of these huge truths if they're actually true. People have proven time and again they are too dumb to handle reality. That's why it's so just uncommon to find it. This disassociative bullshit that everyone seems to be focused on, and somehow this got acceptable. This became what is okay. We need to dial back from that. We had a whole election angled on Make America Great Again. You want to make America great again? How about everybody stops acting stupid? We start treating each other like people. We start holding these assholes accountable. We need to rediscover empathy. We need to become empathic. We need to identify with the fact that other people have feelings too. It's not all about us. These are good people. They're good ones to have around because they don't only focus on their feelings. They focus on how other people feel in results to their actions. That makes them better people. They consider others. Empaths and people who feel strongly, particularly in relation to other people, are wonderful. The problem is we got way too many people out here that are just feeling themselves, and that's useless. Utterly frickin' useless, because you may feel that way. You may feel that your feelings and your emotions and your beliefs and your everything is the most important. The problem is, so does literally every friggin' buddy else. And the lack of concern or care you have for other people's opinions and thoughts and feelings is exactly what they have for you. And I guess that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode of I Had to Say It. If you liked what you heard, leave a review, give us a follow. Give me some feedback. And if you didn't like what you heard, leave a review, give me a follow, give me some feedback. I'll try and fix it. Check us out on all the social media platforms. At I Had to Say It podcast is the trigger for all that stuff, for the search term. And if you want, check out the website, www.ihadtosayitpodcast.com. There's links to people that have been involved with the program, things I've talked about. There are some links available for some merch that we're working on, and there are ways to contact us there as well. And thanks for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.